Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Going Beyond the Scale. I am so excited because my bestest friend ever from Biggest Loser, and we have done many things together, Hannah Curlee Young, is with us today. And I want to be able, obviously I'll talk, but this is really about Hannah sharing her experiences, the fact that it'll be 9 years this month on May 24th that we had our Biggest Loser finale. So to get this started, just so there's no confusion, I think it's going to be really important because all of you people know Hannah as Hannah. But Hannah, why do you have the word pants up there? Why are you known as Pants?
So we all kind of had these nicknames on the ranch. So most people know if they watched our season. If you didn't, that's okay. We were on season 11 of The Biggest Loser or whatever. We were very close. Like Jay and I were BFFs from the start, really. I was like, who is this weird man? And he ended up being like one of my favorite people, probably in the United States, not kidding, the world. So they called me Hannah Banana, which then turned into Banana Pants. I'm not sure how that happened. And then it turned into Pants. So Jay called me Pants, Bob called me Banana Pants, and I've been Pants ever since.
Yeah, it's stuck forever.
Stuck forever.
What I really want to have us chat about today is you and I talk about our whole journey that we've gone through over the past 9 years, and we've experienced a lot of things that are successes, things that have been challenges. But why I'm really interested in what you can share with people today is you have been an extremely accomplished speaker all over the country, highly sought after. You've been speaking to tons and tons of people. You have lots of people who follow you, lots of people who ask you questions in these large conferences and speaking opportunities. But then you also, for years, have been working with people one-on-one. You've been training people, you've been counseling people, you've been doing all of that. And so I wanted you to get into that, but before that, I really would like you to kind of, share, there's a lot of things I know you've learned, but share maybe the 1 to 2 to 3 things that you've experienced and you kind of consistently do all the time that you've been doing over the past 9 years, because I think that's what I really want people to take away is the fact that yes, it's challenging, but it's not always about, people probably come to you and they say, like, what do I eat? What do I do? Everybody's looking for the what do you do's. From my perspective, this is the what do you do thing. That's the place that's been the biggest challenge, and the place that I know I've made a transformation. I certainly know you've made a transformation. So what are those things from your perspective over these 9 years that really have made that difference and you really believe in and you share with people consistently all the time that they should consider to do?
So there's so many things, but when it comes to weight loss, and not just weight loss, maintenance, which Jay, you and I know, maintenance is it's a different animal, right? But your mind has to be in the right spot. And this is going to sound cheesy, but I'm a cheesy kind of person. But if you are on a weight loss track or a maintenance track and you don't believe you're going to do it, you're not going to do it. So you have to get your mind in a place. It cannot be, I have to do this. It's like, I'm able to do this. I get to do this. I get to take myself into a better place in my life. I want to live longer. Like when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to maintenance, I really focus on the long term, and also I spent a lot of years being unhealthy, not really understanding how to be healthy and stay healthy. So a lot of that was because I had this negative mindset. I hated being overweight. I let it consume my entire life. When I got into a different mindset, even when we got on the show and we were still pretty overweight for a long time, we just really learned how to change our minds. It's like in the beginning, it's like, oh, Jillian Michael says I can do this, I can do it. In the beginning, that's what it was about. I mean, let's be real, especially for me, because I did not even believe that I could do anything at that point. And that was the place because I've been telling myself that for 10 years. You're not good enough. You're not this. You're too fat. You're too this. When we get into a place where we step into ourselves, and Jay, you know that I believe this. My child is going to be in and out.
That's fine.
When you really understand that you are a very unique human footprint. So like my superhero is that I'm me, and your superhero is that you. When you really start understanding that and start understanding that every single person has value to offer the world, that's why we're all different. Yeah. That has to start first. And then you bring it into everything in your life. So when I really understood who I was, who I wanted to be, the value that I hold as a person, weight loss, that's what the beauty of The Biggest Loser is. It really puts a mirror in front of that, and you have to really understand what a negative mindset you're in. So when I really talk to people about losing weight, first of all, everybody wants to. Wanting to is not Want and action are two different things.
Right.
But in the beginning, you have to put the action in even when you don't believe that it's going to work or you can do it. You have to put the 2 feet in front of the other. So everyone's always like, they always want to know how, but you have to focus on your why, which is important, but you also have to focus on your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think you're not going to be able to do this, if you're thinking my metabolism's shot, I can't do this, I can't afford healthy food, you're going to come up with 50,000 excuses, which is why you've been overweight for so many years. You have to just start. I always say about weight loss, it is simple, but it's not easy. Simple and easy are two different things, right? Yeah. So you have to make it simple. If you hate broccoli, why are you going to make yourself eat broccoli every day? You know what I'm saying? Find something. And so I always tell everyone, my biggest tip is you have to find a better spot in your mind to start. And that's how you start. And you have to start almost like a personal revolution. And that's what we did. And I truly believe, Jay, and you know this too, if I would have understood some of these key things before I went on the show, I wouldn't have been in the place that I was when I first started. But I just didn't understand that weight loss wasn't just about killing yourself and, you know, eating nothing and moving your body like crazy. It was so started in and from a mental place.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because one of the things that was a major change for me when I got to be on the show, I had said to Kim, my wife Kim, if you don't know my wife, I know you do, but I told Kim that if I don't go there like a blank slate and allow myself to learn, I am going to repeat the fact of gaining and losing 100 pounds probably a dozen times. And so I think one of the things that you're sharing with people as well, as much as you're sharing with them that they need to think about certain things, it's almost like you want to start from a place where you let go a lot of your past stories, or past things of like everything I did this, I tried. I get that. We've all done that. And I have a bad metabolism. You know, I hear that from people. I'm like, look, guys, I weighed 435 pounds. I lost a boatload of weight. I'm 62. I'm older than most of the people that I work with. And I'm not saying that somehow, you know, I have a miraculous metabolism. I don't. I mean, things change over time. But my getting in trouble when I had as far as my eating, it was all mental, being a secret eater, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's like what you're sharing is it's important for people to have a conversation with somebody they can trust and stay in the conversation and not leave. And they're going to have times where they're going to fail and they're going to feel they don't want to come back and talk to you or whatever. But I always tell people, like, look, if you stay in the conversation, we'll figure it out. Now, the reason for us being on Biggest Loser, we were in this place that we couldn't leave. So we got to figure it out. But when you're working with people, you also are a big proponent of movement. I know that's a big what you do. So what are some of the things that you believe, and what do you suggest for people about movement?
Sure. So first of all, one of the things about movement that I didn't understand is it does create chemical balances in the brain, right? So when you are sluggish, when you're tired, being sluggish and being non-moving creates more sluggishness and more tiredness, right? And so the thing about, for my body personally, and I've learned this with almost, you know, I've coached over, oh my gosh, over 400 of people at least at this point. One-on-one, it's you need to eat right and you need to move your body, okay? Not just for weight loss. You need to move your body for your bone health, your joint health. These are all things that go along with weight loss. Your brain is so, people overlook the brain when it comes to weight loss. By the way, kids, your brain tells your body what to do. So when your brain is all jumbled and tired and fatigued and you're overexerting yourself at work and all these things, there's no room for weight loss. There's no room for other things. Weight loss has to be, in my opinion, and Jay, we can talk about this, weight loss and movement have to be at the front. They have to be at the top with other important things, right? And movement for the body is so key. It's a key on digesting your food. It's how your body stays hydrated. It's how you expel waste. Movement. Have you ever gone into a workout and all of a sudden you're like, I gotta go to the bathroom? Who has done that? Like, you drink a bunch of water, you get in your workout. I remember on the ranch, I'll tell this quick story. Jake and most people don't understand that on the ranch there was no plumbing in the gym. So nobody wants to go to the bathroom during a workout because you gotta go to the porta potties outside. So everybody would try to time everything, not, you know, so movement, it's everything. It's how you stay young. Movement to me, is a fountain of youth. I know people that are in their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, and I can tell the complete difference on people that have moved and people that haven't. When you see older people, especially that are maybe hunched over or like their neck, a lot of that is because they've been sitting at a desk for however many hours a day, and they don't get to move because of their lifestyle or their environment. Like moving your body is important. Also, you're talking about serotonin. You're talking about all the things that create great things in our brain that helps us with depression, with so many things. It's kind of like in the wintertime, there's so much seasonal depression. Part of that is because people aren't moving as much because they're inside. So there's so many scientific studies on what movement does. But the combination of eating healthy and moving it really is everything. It is.
Before we got on,
Yes.
You know this book, and
I love this book.
Yeah, it's an incredible book. This is if you've never read any other book about movement, this book is incredible. Please get it, read it, absorb it, and actually use it to move. It makes a big difference. But it's funny you say that, because one of the things that I loved about that we used to learn from Jillian, she would always say to us, after we got done a workout or something with her, she would say our assignment for the day was to walk to China. And we were constantly in a state of movement. And I think, no matter where somebody is in terms of their physicality or some of the challenges, I think one of the biggest things I tell people when I get a chance to speak to people, I'll say to them, what you really want to understand is that the movement part of that equation for us on Biggest Loser was probably, besides the food was very important. They go hand in hand. But once we started to actually move our body and we would have these little accomplishments, then our brain actually started to feel like we could do something. Because like what you're saying before, many times we were just like lumps on a couch, and we were like, oh my God, I can do it. So I think to me, the biggest takeaway, and I know there's a lot of people that love Biggest Loser, and there's people that don't like Biggest Loser. There's always somebody who has an opinion about it. But what I say to people is, look, against all odds, people that had all kinds of challenges, there is proof that if you do get healthier, move, and eat a little bit better, it was remarkable. People get so inspired. It's like, how can they do that? Well, we're no different than anybody else. It's just we have a chance to do that. I think it's important to remember.
And I love that, because I can remember I was one of those people where I had never really seen the show before. It's kind of how I was, Olivia I want to say there was some trickery there, because there was, but I was so humiliated on what I looked like, the fact that I was going to go on television. But what I learned about the show, being on the show, everyone looks at the show and some people say things like, oh my gosh, like they're torturing them, they're making them do things. But what Jillian and Bob did for us, and Jay will agree with this, they showed us that we could. Yeah. They showed us how magnificent the human body really is. And yes, we iced our knees, we took care of ourselves, but I'll never forget the first week, or maybe it was the second week, Arthur, who was on our show, he was the biggest loser of all time. He was as wide as he was tall. We love our Artie. He ran on a treadmill.
Yeah.
He weighed 500 pounds. Now, he wasn't sprinting. Right. There was a doctor right there. But she wanted to show him that even for 10 seconds that he could do it. And he did. And it was so incredible. I remember we were all just in tears, because to think that you can't do something because you're overweight. Now, are you going to be able to go run a marathon? Are you going to be able to go sprint at a 15.0? Well, maybe if you're Courtney or Rulon, but no.
Right.
But you can move your body. Is it going to hurt in the beginning? Probably, but you add a little bit each day, and do not underestimate the power of walking. That's the key movement to our bodies getting. And also, I want to say this about movement, because if I don't, my husband will kill me. My husband is a movement specialist. Okay. That means that means nothing to a lot of people unless you're in the exercise world. But you need to move, so when you're 70 and 80, you don't break your hip getting out of the car. Yeah. You don't have to have knee surgery, because every time you bend over, or every time you do something, your body is not a well-oiled machine. Now, you have to be 2% body fat? No. But moving helps you as you age so much. I guarantee you, Jay's not going to break a hip because he moves all the time. Yeah. So you have to understand, you're moving in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, any of those times, you're moving more now. So when you do get into your 70s, your 80s, your 90s, I mean, 80s isn't even really old anymore, but your body is used to moving, right? So there's never a perfect time, but it's never too late to really start moving.
And Hannah, you'll appreciate this. I do a lot with the somewhere over there. Okay, it's the body composition machine. So I've done now over
which I love.
I've done over like 5,000 consults with people with that. And what's really amazing is what I tell people. I say, look, when we get this information, I want you to understand that you are both fit and you're fat, and neither one of them are bad. Because what ends up happening is people think in their minds, like whatever they weigh, they think somehow in their mind that is just, they're overweight. The entire number is overweight. when I can show somebody their body composition, it's like, look, it's remarkable. You have more muscle than you realize. When I can also, when I can separate literally the muscle from the fat, then look and see, like, what is it you're doing? How, if you're going to spend time in the gym or you're going to go walk or whatever, how are you spending that life energy? Because a lot of things people do is they'll spend all this time and energy. They worry about a number on the scale, but they're not really realizing that their body composition is their asset, and they need to understand how does that work. So I think what's great is there's so much technology that's available, and it doesn't have to be body composition. It can be your phone. It can be, you know, where you wear watch or Fitbit or whatever. And I think that's where nowadays, if you have a connection with somebody like yourself who has life experiences and can listen, you can really share with people. That's one part. And then if they connect to some of the technology, they've got data and they've got the conceptual thing back and forth, and it really makes a difference, because otherwise it's just kind of very cloudy and foggy, and somebody stands on the video, and any given day, like, no matter what happens, hormonally and stress-wise, you can go 5 pounds down, whatever. So I think that it's important. People need to listen to people like Hannah that have had lots of experience, so that she can share with you what is possible for you. And then you have to really be active in your rescue for whatever you decide to do. You can't. You remember the other thing, I know that Jill said to us one time, she said, never surrender your power to anyone, anything. And that just means to a trainer, not to a machine, not to whether you walk or you can't go to the gym. Don't do that. I think that's where, especially, and you and I both really support a lot of women more than men. For some reason it seems to happen. But share with everybody, because I've experienced this. I mentioned this to you. I love working with women. It's kind of funny that when we got in the Final Four, it was 3 women and me, and I was less. And then I worked with lots of women. But here's what I find, unfortunately. I'm shocked at how much, no matter how successful many times women are on whatever journey they're going, I have more time that I spend with them to try to own their success. And like, they're like, oh, I lost a pound, or I lost, like, they start with what they didn't versus what they did. Do you experience that as well?
So there's so many women, they're so focused on what hasn't happened that they're not focused on what's happening, right? So it's like, oh, well, my goal this month was to lose 8 pounds. I lost 6.7. They focus on the 8 instead of, you lost 6.7 pounds. And it's not even about the pounds. It's about, I like to set goals because Jay knows I'm extremely competitive with myself. That's just how I am. I'm more competitive with myself than other people, almost to a fault. It's something I really had to work on when I came home from the show. But it's like, we have to focus on the wins. If you drank all your water today, great. If you moved your body 3 days a week, even though you were trying to do 5, you still moved for 3 days. Like, we have to stop worrying. We have to look at the aerial view of our lives, because you're never going to be 100% successful. No one is. Jillian Michaels will tell you herself, she doesn't love working out. Everyone thinks she has said that to us a million times, you know? So that's the thing. So, and everyone is good at different things. Like, for instance, in the gym, I'm a terrible squatter. I have a ganky knee from being overweight from so long. I love lifting weights. I love arm stuff, but I need to work on the squat. So there's been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to look like her squatting. I'm not. That's just not me. It's not. But also, I'm great at all the arm stuff. I'm great at this. I'm great at, I'm great at pushing everything. So focus on what you're good at. Work on the things you need to work on. But you have to give yourself grace, especially if you're working towards a health goal. Every step, I always say these annoying things, shavings make a pile. A match can light a house on fire, right? So why are you focusing on the single match than the bonfire you've already created? Like, you just can't do it. It sends your mind into this negative space, which we all know raises your cortisol and your stress and all those things. And so you have to focus on the things that you are accomplishing along the way, or you will get too fatigued and you'll give up. And I want to say this is really important, especially for women. My only true rule in weight loss for my coaching is we don't stop. Jay knows when you stop and take a couple months off, or Now, I don't mean stopping as in, I don't mean stopping as in you're going to have bad days. You're going to have, I hate the words fall off the wagon. I hate all that. I'm like, what wagon is this? What century are we in? This is not the Oregon Trail. I hate those words, because you're never going to be 100% perfect on your diet or your exercise. It is never going to happen. Bodybuilders aren't even 100% perfect. It is never going to happen. And here's the thing. No one expects you to do that but yourself. So you need to throw that out the window. Okay. So I tell everyone, it's like if you have a bad meal, and I hate when people say bad meals, you're going to have food that you enjoy. Part of food is joy. Let's be real about that, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to have pasta, you're going to have a pizza. So the most important thing that happens during that time is what happens next. You enjoy the pizza with your friends, you have wine, whatever, you go to this great restaurant. The most important choice you make is what happens after that.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. So people focus on the negative stuff. They focus on, oh, well, I hit 6 pounds, I didn't eat 8. It's good to focus on numbers and goals, but it's also good, hey, you're changing your lifestyle. You're having so many changes. You have to focus on the things that you are winning at too, and give yourself grace. And Jay can tell you this, like part about Biggest Loser that we really had to overcome is I was never a person that put up these huge numbers. I wasn't. I did a little bit in the beginning, but I wasn't I lost 20 pounds. That wasn't me. I was somewhere in the middle. I was at the bottom at some times, and I won one weigh-in the entire season. One. That was the very last one. That was the only one. Now, I came in second a lot. That was my MO, I guess. I would, or I was somewhere in the middle. And Jillian would always say to us girls, she would always be like, most of you lose the same amount. You just lose it in different ways. Yeah. Right? It's about your monthly average if you're looking at pounds. But we really, the body composition, it's everything. It's everything. So I always encourage people to, when you're losing weight, find a place where you can get your body comp checked. It's super important.
And then, the interesting thing, which is why I call this going beyond the scale, is, hey, we lived and died by the scale. I mean, that's what it was about.
Right.
And when we were there, we hated to leave because we were in the midst of it. We got along great. We really enjoyed the thing. It was so scary every time we had to weigh in. We didn't know if we were going to go home.
Right.
The whole transformation for everybody really was beyond the scale, and exactly what you're talking about. It was always about what were we learning, what were we thinking, we take away in the long run. And I think the other part that we never really talked a lot about, and it is one of the things I want to explore in other conversations at different times, the challenge that happens when you're on a reality show and you come home. It's always fun because people know you and you get a lot of accolades and all that, and then that dies off. But the challenge that we found sometimes is like, how do friends and family feel about us? Because sometimes what would happen is they would feel uncomfortable, like as if we were doing the same things we did before, like somehow we were doing them. So one of the things I tell people all the time is, as important as it is to have a conversation with yourself, get out of your head and speak to somebody you trust like yourself. You want to also have more conversations with people that you love and care about in your life, and let them off the hook and don't judge them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things that sometimes is not realized until all of a sudden people get upset and they get mad or whatever. And it's a delicate dance of that. And it's something that we have to really do.
And also, this. Let's say you're on a weight loss journey and your mom or your dad is really unhealthy and you want to pull them on. I struggle with this some. Jillian would always tell us, you cannot make anyone do this.
Right.
You can set an example. You can invite them to go with you on a walk. You can do this, but people have to come to their own conclusion that they are ready. Like, I talk to people all the time, and I can tell by our consultations, they're just not ready quite yet, And here's the thing, that's their choice. You have to respect that. But also another thing that happened that I was really surprised about, I feel like Jillian Bob set us up about what was going to happen at home. I did not believe I was going to lose friends. I didn't believe that. I did. I definitely did, because they just weren't on the same role as I was on. They're used to me going to happy hour, having margaritas and chips and all this all the time, And then I went from doing that to being like, hey, you want to take this workout class? And they were just kind of like, no, So I had to understand they weren't going to be in the same space that I was wanting to do stuff like that. Also, people were always afraid to eat in front of me. It was the weirdest thing. Like, we'd go to dinner and they would have like this weird guilt of, well, I know that Hannah's going to be judging me because I'm ordering pizza. And that is so far from the truth. If you are sitting with a person that's healthy or fit, and that's something that you are having a hang up. And I used to do that. Like, I would be around someone healthy or fit and I'd be like, oh, well, I probably should order like the salmon or something because they're going to judge me. That's more about me feeling like I'm being judged for my choices. Right. So that was a strange thing too, like going places and people being like, asking me, like, do you care if I order the pizza? And I'd be like, no. That was a weird thing for me, for sure. And like Jay said, being recognized was crazy. When we went to New Zealand, we were still on the show. I think that was the first time where we got kind of bum rushed in the airport, and Jay and I remember Jay looked at me and was like, maybe Gwyneth Paltrow's here. So we're looking around for these celebrities, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, Michael, someone famous is here. And they were all running to us. And we just thought that was the funniest thing. Like, we were like, oh my God. Because the show, our season was so long. The show was airing when we were still on the ranch. Remember, Jay?
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's why people knew who we were, because the show had already been airing for a couple months. So we were in our little bubble. And then we go to the airport. That was the first time we experienced that, which was very strange.
It was very funny too, because they were trying to keep us from TMZ was following us. And I remember when people didn't know that I actually came back. And then I was in that one thing, you and I were with Jillian in New Zealand at shopping or something. And Jillian got the paper because she paid like $300 to save a lobster. And then she put it, and then she threw it back in the water or whatever, and so the newspaper covered that. So we were lucky because our season was the longest season out of all the big 21 episodes.
Yeah, biggest loser history.
It was like very long time, and we were very fortunate just because it was just amazing the amount of things to really experience. It was a lot of fun.
It was. And the people on our season, I mean, were just, especially, I would say our team, but we were just so close. And I feel like Biggest Loser really respected that. They didn't try to pin it. Like, I just felt like what you saw was what was happening. Like, I never felt scripted, or I never felt like I was on a reality show. We were just kind of being ourselves. And honestly, what people don't understand, you're so tired, it's very hard to be someone else. You know what I mean? Now, disclaimer, I have not seen all the episodes. I have seen clips. I said some embarrassing, crazy things, but that's just, you got to be yourself, right?
People always love both you and Olivia. You guys together are some of the funniest people in the world. Together you are, separately you are. It's like, I think that was the biggest thing that shocked me, because I told you when we were on the ranch, like, you're gonna have your own show, Hannah. Like, I didn't understand.
Oh, yeah.
One of the funniest people I'd ever met, and it's just like, and they picked up a lot of it. A lot of the things that were outtakes and stuff with you were absolutely hysterical, always.
Well, that was the interesting thing, because I've talked about this so many times in different interviews, but everyone had us kind of at the bottom. Everybody did. Everyone thought because we were two girls, we were smaller.
You know this, Hannah. Okay, we're best of friends. But in the beginning, I didn't think
I know.
You know what? I didn't think you were going to make it. It was because what happened is we were very much in those days, like we were in our judgment mode. Like,
sure, of course.
Okay. So the first night that we all got on the ranch, and why don't you tell people what happened to you that first time before we went out to do the first challenge? What happened, Hannah?
Sure. I fainted completely. First of all, they had me in this terrible, unsupportive bra. I had this horrible migraine headache, my first one in life, because I had been eating like Halloween candy and junk. The other thing that I do want to talk about really quick, Jenny, is Olivia and I watched a couple episodes. We knew nothing about this. So a lot of people that come on the show, they're friends with prior contestants. They know. So people were like, for the first weigh, and they were like drinking water just to make sure that you're heavier. Olivia and I, we didn't know. We knew nothing. We're like eating mini Reese cups, and we had these tiny little water bottles because we had our CPAP, our sleep study the night before the weigh-in. And so we just didn't know. We were just so naive when it came. And I feel like our season, there wasn't like a ton of games. Like, it wasn't about that. But your very first weigh-in, you want to weigh as much as you possibly can, you know? And we just were so dumb. Like, we just didn't know. And also, the first couple, our season was different and unique because we had the two trainers. And so there was this very moment, and I talk about this in almost all my speaking engagements, where I really had a hard time. A lot of the guys on the other team, the red team, would run the numbers every week. Remember that, Jay? Like, they had like the number sheet, and they're like, so-and-so's going to lose this. I was standing at the sink doing the dishes because none of the dudes but Jay did their dishes.
Yep.
Jerks. It was always just like disgusting. And Moses was like, sorry, but we're always going to put you at the bottom because, and he said that, and he said it very kindly, because Moses is a kind man. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when he said that, I remember I went upstairs. Jay, you might've been there, and I was bawling. I was like, why? And Olivia just looked at me and was like, you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to work now, not because I wasn't working hard, but because we were two females, we were smaller, even though our body fat, 59% body fat, was higher than most of the people there, Yeah. And so they said that for a lot of different reasons, but it made me be like, no, like, I'm not going to just because I'm a girl and I'm from the South. And yes, I fainted on the first night, which I think might've helped me because people thought I was so weak. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it did.
it was scary. I mean, literally, you just dropped
I
like
know. Never fainted in my life. It was a combination of so many things. First of all, it was hot as hell. It was
yeah,
so hot. They fed us this crappy, remember the Sharky's Mexican food? They fed us this, and of course, thinking I'm gonna go, I was like, well, we're not going to eat again for 24 hours. So I had like, I don't know, who knows how many tacos at that point. I don't know.
yeah,
And it was the very first day. I didn't drink hardly any water because I was like, I'm going to have to pee during the weigh-in.
yeah.
So it was a combination of all of that. Plus, 5 minutes before I fainted, I don't know if I've ever even shared this. Olivia told me I was going to have to take my shirt off for the weigh-in. I didn't know that.
Wow.
And she didn't want to tell me until right before. And I don't know if you remember, but they gave us the most crappy, unsupportive sports bras. Like your boobs are in your shoes. It's terrible. And so she said, I wanted to tell you this, but I wanted to wait till right before, but we take our shirts off for the weigh-in. And I was like, what? And I literally, and I just, all I could think about was my boss was going to see me.
Oh.
And also I started thinking at that point, I was very single, which apparently the show mentioned 150,000, 238 times. And I was like, every guy that I've ever wanted to date is going to see, like, I started panicking. And so I think, to be honest, I think I was having kind of a panic attack. I had never really had one. And then I just remember Dr. Huizenga like clapping his hands, and I was just, I don't know.
Here's what's interesting about what you shared is that night was so strange for all of us because it was a whole, it's hard to explain to people how strange that is to be in that environment. It's very, very strange. You don't have your cell phone, you don't have a laptop, you're disconnected from everything, and you're in the middle of nowhere. It's very strange. But what I love about what you shared there is it's not being judgmental, but the way that you and Olivia were in the beginning. Amazing thing for people to really, I want people to take away from it, because if they saw you, I guarantee you they would have believed you wouldn't have done well. Because
absolutely.
And this is what I wanted people to get, is that you did not at the time, like what you said, you didn't have the confidence, you didn't have the proof of what was possible. You only knew what you, in your mind at that time, what you couldn't do and who you used to be and how hard it was. And it's a great example of whoever's out there right now that has that feeling, whatever that is, like anybody that can start to step into that place where they start to realize that they don't have to be perfect and they're not going to figure it out right away. You guys are such a powerful example of a transformation physically and mentally, because I wish we could go back and look at that, because I'm telling you, Hannah,
I know.
You two were, I would have never in a million years thought you two would have ended up being in the top. Your sister winning, you being the runner-up. I'm just like, who would have thought that would have been the case? But that's the point.
It's crazy.
Odds, that's what Biggest Loser proved to people, that I tell them, like, look, your potential is untapped. You just don't realize. You need to find somebody, something that will help support you to you support yourself.
That's it.
You know. And
I remember I had a very powerful first couple of weeks. It was hard for me. Obviously, I was struggling, but Jillian said something to me. Who knows if it ever made camera? I don't know, but she said, "See, the thing about you is you don't like to ask for help," which we know that. But she also said, "You have everything that you've ever wanted is in front of you. You just never reach for it." She was like, "It's like someone offering you $5 and you don't put your hand out." She was like, she was like, "See, I had all kinds of issues with her family, like this." She was like, "You have a supportive family. You have a great job."
Yeah.
She was like, so you're single and you live alone and you own your, like, she made me understand that my life wasn't so bad, you know? Right. And she was like, the problem is you are the problem, and you need to take responsibility of that. So I think for the first time, I really took responsibility for not just eating, but just living the way I was living, and not being grateful for the things that I already had. And that was a huge part of me understanding that I was powerful and I was strong. And also for me, my situation was different. I was like this powerful athlete. I had an accident. So then I became this, to be honest, this weak human. And I believed that whole narrative about how weak I was. Right. And it took me a while on the show to kind of get through that. But that's what made it so unique is, and Jillian even told us, Olivia and I both, she was like, "You guys are at the bottom. No one's expecting you to do, I mean," and, I hated it so much because I was just like, why? I don't understand. Why don't we're two girls because we're from the South, because we're weird and kooky, like, but we were. That's exactly how we started.
You bring up a great point, and I think a lot of people that haven't had the opportunity to really and we spent a lot of time with both Bob and Jill.
Absolutely.
The training is great. A trainer is great, but what I also would say to somebody, choose a trainer that also, in addition to, can be able to give you the idea of what you need to understand from a structural physiology perspective. Choose a trainer that you can trust and that you can actually open up and be vulnerable with and let them know, because if you do that, they will transform you. And I think that was probably the secret sauce to any of us that tapped into it. And not everybody chose to do it, but if you tapped into what Jill said to you or what Bob said to you, and that's really the part, at least I think, I know for you and I know for many people.
Absolutely.
It's what made a difference. It wasn't just
such a difference.
Exercise. It was like, I never forgot the one thing in New Zealand. I never forgot one of the biggest lessons I got from Jillian when we were in New Zealand. And as you know, Jenny went home. We were
it was terrible.
It was a great opportunity to go to New Zealand, but like, it wasn't my dream to be on Biggest Loser.
It was hard, right?
Hers. And then when I got to come back, it was like, oh my God, it was the greatest like father-daughter get together. It was great.
Oh my gosh. Big. I'll never forget that when y'all were like, did the running hug to each other. It was the greatest.
Okay. And then literally 1 week later, Jenny goes under the red line, and I didn't get to hug her. Like, she got taken away. And I remember the next morning, I was in the corner in the gym. Nobody saw me. It wasn't like I was booping beyond belief, but I was just devastated because I knew she wasn't coming back. This was the thing she wanted to do. And I don't usually get depressed, but I was like really depressed and didn't know what to do. We get to New Zealand, and I started not being as much in the mode that I was. And as you know, one of the things that happened, I had to drink a bunch of water because I was dehydrated. And before you get you want to make sure that you are actually not just going out. So I ended up drinking like 5 pounds of Gatorade, or like 5 bottles of Gatorade, and I ended up gaining 2 pounds. And Jill was going to kill me. She was so mad because I never did that. And my numbers were big. And I never forgot the next day when I was with her, she says, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Jill, look, I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the youngest here." And she's like, "Why do you say that?" And I just kept saying it and kept saying it. And she just stayed with me. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, that's the shit I've been telling myself my whole entire life.
Exactly. I
had no reason why I could fail, and it was okay. And here I am in an opportunity of a lifetime, and I was willing to just give up right then and there. And she literally, it was like, and that's what a good trainer, that's what a good coach.
Incredible.
They will tell you how to get out of your own way,
Right. Because the thing about losing weight, the only thing that's stopping you is you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So when I really understood on the show that I had to stop focusing on what everyone else was doing, and I had to start looking in the mirror every day and only work on, like, Olivia and I got to a point where I was like, I can't watch numbers. I can't watch other people. I have to do this for myself. I have to get everything that I can out of this experience. And also, we need to mention this because it's worth mentioning. A lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but we had like a therapist that visited every week. It was volunteer, though. You could see him or you didn't. Jay and I were 2 people that volunteered every week to talk to the therapist, right? So there were things, anytime Julian was like, does anyone need to talk about anything? I was like, me. I tried to take every single free, what's the word I'm looking for, opportunity that they gave us to talk about whatever, our childhood, this or that, why we were in a weight gain phase for many, many years. Like, I really knew that I needed to get my mind in a better place because I was such a negative person walking into this experience. Also, I'm not going to lie, I was afraid to go home. I got to a place where I had to let that go, and I just had to do my 150% best, right? And even if I wasn't winning every challenge and winning every weigh-in, I was still changing every single week. I was having my own wins and my own things. And when I started collecting my wins, is what I called it. I started collecting little things here and there. They made us journal, which I thought was so stupid, but now looking back on it, it was so smart, right? And when I started really understanding that, oh my gosh, I'm planting seeds for what's going to happen in the next 10 years here during this time. And that's what we did. And I feel like Jay too. I feel like Jay put up these huge numbers, but for some reason, everyone knew he was a threat because of the numbers, right? And I just knew that one of the reasons why we wanted to bring him back, he was such a positive role model for me. He was such a great person to do this alongside with because of his positivity. And because Jillian would tell him to do something, he would just do it. Jay was a 5-4-3-2-1er is what I call it. He didn't hesitate. He wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to do this. He would just try it. And if he fell flat on his face, he did. But that was so important for me to see other people doing that because I was always a hesitator. And she was like, we're gonna do box jumps. We're gonna do this. And I was always like, oh, I would always start panicking. Jay would just be like, okay, I'll try it. If I break my leg, I break my leg. That was such a great thing for me to watch, to understand that age, race, any of that didn't matter. We were all there. We were all trying new things. And so I feel like that took you so far. And when I finally started picking up on that, it took me far too.
Well, I thank you for that compliment, but I will tell you, and I love you for many things, but the one thing I will not follow you is the crazy stuff you did in New Zealand when you were jumping off the tower. And luckily, I didn't have to because they wouldn't give me medical clearance. And
I remember that because of the heart nut, right?
I don't have medical clearance, but I would have done it because I had to do it. I would have done it.
You would have done it though. You would have.
Yeah. The one that you did, which was the crazy, you did a lot of crazy stuff in New Zealand. But that friggin' thing where you got in a lawn chair on a cable and you...
Okay, that's not correct. So Kaylee did the lawn chair. I did the backflip. I wasn't even in a chair.
Oh my God.
So I had a cable connected to was it my ankle or my waist? My waist. So Kaylee did the one that was supposed to be safer because you're strapped to a chair. Yeah. And I remember Todd Lubin, who was one of the producers, he basically was like, you're not doing this. We're going to put you in the chair. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. I'm not using this little dumb launch. I'm not going to sit down and back off. I'm going to just do a free fall. And he was like, no, because I had to sign an extra waiver. But Joel, our story producer, was like, just sign the waiver. Just sign the waiver. So it was, and to be honest, Jay, I was always the person on spring break or whatever that was at the bottom of the rides holding the purses. I was always the person taking the pictures. I could never fit in a go-kart. Like I was always in college during those times where people look back and remember themselves being their fittest, their thinnest. That was not me. I was the heavy girl, and in my teens and stuff, when I was active and I was thin before I had my accident, I did all those things. And so my weight really did limit me in my life. And so when we got to New Zealand and I realized, that was when I started realizing that I was getting thin. I hate to use the word thin.
Yeah.
And they were asking for volunteers to jump off the tower at first. And I was like, I was a little bit nervous, but I was like, first of all, they're not going to put me in a situation where I'm going to die, even though we had to sign releases that we might. And second of all, I was like, I cannot back away from chances anymore. I do not have an excuse of being overweight. I do not have an excuse of being unhealthy. And I do not have an excuse of not having the opportunity. And so if they were going to pay for me to put on the jumpsuit and jump off, I was going to do it. And I was going to be first in line. And I also, remember too, fear was such a huge hold in my life. Fear of not losing weight, fear of not getting married, fear of not making enough money. I had so much fear that was something that I worked on throughout my time on the ranch so much. Fear of going home. There was so much fear. So when I got to New Zealand, I was like, no more fear. I can't operate this way. I have to just do it and then think about it later. And that's what I did. And so I was jumping off everything that wasn't nailed down.
I'm telling you,
and it was an amazing thing. It was an amazing thing. It was so freeing. It felt so good. It was awesome.
I know it was amazing, but I'm telling you, if you put that friggin' video up and let people see it,
I should see it.
Hannah, it was.
I think I actually they gave me because it was like an excursion. I have a DVD of it somewhere that I never watched. But I'm sure.
And a lot of people were doing a lot of bungee jumping, which is scary.
Right.
Okay, but the bungee jumping, which was scary, was nothing. I'm telling you, nothing. Please share with people that sometime, because I mean that thing is just like.
It was the highest point. I think it was the highest point. It was really high. Yeah, like you couldn't even see the bottom. Like you couldn't see, like when we would look over, like you couldn't see. And it was interesting because they tied the thing to my waist, and with the chair thing, they kind of helped you off the ledge, but because I was standing up, they couldn't. So they had to back away. And then at the last minute, I turned around and did it backwards, which I should not have done that. But I was like, I'm not letting these people limit me. Like, no way. And so I just did it. And I just never forget. I need to watch it because I remember so vividly that time. I remember at the bottom, you're just like swinging. And I just remember just thinking to myself, this is you like free falling into your new life. This is you being able to have experiences, and it's not too late. It's like never too late. I mean, think about you. Like it's not that you're old, because you're really not. I mean, we all think you're 25, but like I'm in my 40s. I'm not. We were older. I mean, there were 18-year-olds on the show. Like there were people that were like wet behind the ears still.
I say I'm 62 years young, and I tell people,
right.
Okay, I work with people. I say, like, whatever you do, don't let an old person in, because there's no future in it. They're literally not. I mean, that whole mentality. Luckily, not going for Mike or whatever, I don't have joint issues. I have been lucky for all the excess weight that I've had on my body for years.
Right.
don't have joint problems at all. But luckily, before I got too much older, I got out, and the movement, like you said, the movement
so
is
important.
It makes such a work.
Wouldn't you agree that movement really heals your body? That's how you heal. I mean, what we basically did is we healed our bodies. Now, I'm sure, I mean, I am a person who did tons of damage to my body before I even stepped on the ranch. So, but we literally healed our body in 8 months. It's just such an incredible gift. And to be honest, yes, it was grueling, but we had the most wonderful time. I look back on that time and it was the greatest. It was the greatest. It really was.
The part that I also will share with people all the time is that we were so medically tested before we got on the show.
Yes.
Incredibly. Okay. And then all the time. And then Sandy was taking care of us and keeping us functional.
Right.
So
right. Absolutely.
One thing I say to people all the time, if you have healthcare, whatever, get and be with a doctor, have people, don't just do crazy stuff. So as long as you do that, I mean, all of us has the same things that we had on the ranch. All those things are here.
Sure.
Of the ranch was not anything more than the fact that we were confined so that we couldn't sneak out and mainline food at McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't have that. So back to the mindset.
Because you do hear those stories from other contestants. Like, we did this, and I mean, people have heard. I've been asked so many times, like, did you sneak food into your suitcase? Did you have food into? I'm sorry, the sun's coming in. Did you have food? And I was like, no, I didn't think to do any of that. I barely even packed enough. I packed all these nice clothes, like we were going to go somewhere. I didn't even pack enough underwear for the show. Like, I mean, oh my gosh, I was so unprepared. I just remember getting there being like, oh, I should have brought, oh my gosh, it's just kind of funny. And honestly, to be honest, they basically told Livy and I they didn't think we were going to make it. Like, we were possibly going to be alternates. So I just went because I'd never been to California. And I was like, I want to go to California. I know we're probably not going to come back. So I didn't tell my boss that I might not come back. I was like, I'm going to California. I'm going to use vacation time. Like, one of the producers had to call him and was like, by the way, because I honestly, up until the day of, I did not think we were going to make it.
Wow.
I did not. I mean, the producers, and maybe they were just saying that so we would have more of a reaction. I don't know. And the only person I knew on the show was Allison Sweeney, because I was a Days of Our Lives fan. I did not know Jill and Bob. Yeah. I had one of Jillian's DVDs, and she hates when she always tells me not to say this. I bought her DVD in a yard sale for 50 cents. I sold it I watched it. I'll never forget. I watched it. I remember I ordered pizza and I had Cheetos and I watched the DVD and I was like, who would ever do that? And then I sold it at my yard sale for $1. So I made money off her DVD. I never actually, so when I first saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, she's the girl on that DVD. I didn't even know who they were. I had no idea. And when I first saw Bob, I was like, and let's just talk about this for a minute. When we're in the gym, we meet them for the first time. Those double doors open. These people in person are beautiful people.
Oh yeah.
It was like they walked in. I'll never forget. Jillian was like sun-kissed. It was like her hair was going in the air. Bob looked like Hollywood Ken. Like, they just looked like these, and I fell in love with Bob immediately. I didn't know he was gay or anything. I was like, oh my gosh, like, who is that? So I didn't really care about Jillian as much as I was salivating over Bob, but it was just interesting because that whole dynamic of meeting them and all this I didn't really care about the stardom things. I really didn't know who they were.
Right.
And to be honest, in the beginning, I didn't trust them. I was like, I'm never going to look like her. I'm never going to look like, I had a chip on my shoulder. I'm never going to look like this. So how can they relate to what I'm doing? That was a big part of when we first started too.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to wrap up soon. And one of the things that, in addition to what you shared, which is, I think is really helpful for people to hear how you've made that transformation, the things that you've done and you've taken away. Since you speak to people all the time, you coach people all the time, like, what are some of the, what are the things that keep constantly coming up that you hear that people somehow are concerned about and is an issue for them, that you might have something you can share that will help them today, tomorrow, whatever?
So first of all, your mindset is everything. We all know that. However, understand that there is no perfect plan. The most perfect diet you can ever be on is the one that you can stick to.
Yeah.
And everybody is different, right?
Yeah.
If you can't do the keto diet the rest of your life, don't do it. If you are a person that struggles with binge eating, you don't need to be eating 6 times a day, right? You have to look at your patterns. I always have people, like, before I work with them, I have them eat normally for a week and they write everything down and I look at their patterns. What time are you the most hungry? Do you wake up hungry? hungry. Like, for instance, Olivia and I are very different. I wake up, I'm not hungry. She wakes up, she eats first thing in the morning. She's always done that since we were kids. I'm never hungry till 10 or 11 o'clock, right? So
Right.
she's not a natural intermittent faster. I kind of am.
Yeah.
So look at your patterns, look at the holes, where they are, where you are the most vulnerable. Are you a night eater, right? Do you open the fridge before bed and you're looking for something, you know? So I always tell people you have to look at you and your lifestyle before you really make a choice. Also, I don't care who you are. No one can do this by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean hiring a coach or hiring someone.
Right.
You must find a community. And the thing about being online, there's communities everywhere. There's communities. I never thought I needed to be in a Facebook grouping like that. I am, because guess what? I need accountability outside of the home. And I don't mean your husband, your wife. That's super important. Your community, your in-home support. I'm talking about out of your home. Support from other people. That was the thing that was so magic about being on the show. We had all these people that were doing it just like with us.
Yeah.
Even though we were all so different and we all lost weight differently, we acted differently, our eating patterns were different, but we were there for the same reasons. So you have to find that community. You have to find extra support. And there's no shame in saying, I need more support. Like, you have to be honest about that in the beginning. So finding, and Jillian and Bob called it, find your army of support. I'll never forget that. Like, Jillian looked at me and said, you're not going to go home and do this on your own. You have to find, it's kind of like to find my tribe thing, whatever, but you have to find people. And for us, we were lucky because, or blessed, or whatever you want to say, because we had each other and we've always stayed in touch. And I had Olivia, obviously. And I know at any time, if I was really struggling, I could call Jay and be like, man, I'm just on a struggle bus this month. I'm having trouble. And he would take me back to basics.
Yeah.
Right. And anytime I feel that way, I go back to my basics. You know how to do this.
Hannah, sometimes peanut butter. Remember peanut butter? We both love peanut butter. It's good stuff.
Beware. It is my favorite food in the whole world. So death row food.
I would say of all the things, and you know, when I had written the book Smartphone Fit, my 4 takeaways were consciousness, choice, conditioning. Number 4, community. That was the biggest takeaway. Was it, like what you said? I've never met anyone that, even super athletes, it doesn't matter who they are, whether you're Tiger Woods, it's like they all have somebody somewhere and a group of people that are always looking out for them. So anybody that thinks that they're going to do this and they're going to quote unquote lose weight or maintain or whatever X, Y, Z, it doesn't work by yourself. So I'm glad that that's really the main thing that you take away from all that. So, okay, you didn't think you were going to get married. You got married. You've got a wonderful.
I'm married to Hunt.
He is one handsome man. My wife is a beautiful little guy. So you've transformed those things you didn't think was going to happen. You have all of that right now. You've been successful in all kinds of things that you've done. So this coming year, I know this is a weird year for all of us. You know, it's an opportunity for people to kind of reinvent themselves and see what's possible. In this year, maybe in the next couple of years, I mean, what are some things on the horizon for you that we might be able to look forward to when people are following?
Well, it's interesting because I am still a speaker. I've been speaking a long time now, which, to be honest, I never really wanted to do. It was never really an aspiration of mine, but I've done that. And that's one of my favorite things is to get to meet people in person, which I love. And everyone's always so positive and wonderful. But every speaking gig that I have, I was telling Jay, has been canceled for the rest of the year. So that's kind of off the books. We have been trying to start a podcast literally for 3 years. So we are doing a podcast that should be coming, I'm just going to say, the next 2 months. I don't have the name because we've changed it 3 different times, but we'll be doing some kind of podcast. I also have this really interesting, it's fairly new. It's a weight loss support group on Facebook. It's called The Way Down, WEIGH. I don't know how to spell. The Way Down. It's basically a place, most people already know this. I drink ketones. It's part of my 4th macronutrient. It's not just about that, but it's more about people to come to a place where they feel supported when they're trying to lose weight. Because one of the hardest parts about coaching is I do individual coaching. I can only take so many people. And most people are with me from at least 12 to 18 months because that's how long normally it takes to lose 100 pounds or more, right? And it's not that I only take people like that. I mean, I take all kinds of people, but someone that needs to lose 10 pounds isn't going to come to me, right? So I wanted to figure out a way to reach more people. And so I started this Facebook group out of one person, and it's really grown. And it's been a great place for people to come and to learn more about health and learn more about things. I am also doing, and Jay, I was going to talk about this separately, but May 11th, I'm kicking off I want to call it an experience. It's called the Quick 6. It's a 6-week I hate to use the word challenge because everyone says challenge. It's not really a challenge, it's an experience.
Okay.
It's called the Quick 6. It's going to be on Facebook. It's called the Quick 6. And it's your 6 habit hack to better. And it's working on 6 different habits. So mindset, gratitude, sleep, diet. So things like that. So many things in weight loss is not just food and movement. There's more. And so it's working on 6 habits to get you to healthier. So Jay, we really want you to come and do a live for us because we're doing lives daily. So we love, I mean, I'm doing it with a couple other people that are in my Facebook group, but it's really a place where you can, as we're moving out of quarantine, because Jay, you probably have heard this too. Yeah. I've gotten messages from so many people that are struggling in quarantine. This is a time where we think we're going to work out, we're going to do all this, but we're eating more foods, we're having takeout, we're doing more things. So this is a time when we're emerging back in to really rein it in and to give yourself power for 6 weeks is what it's about.
Great. That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
So where is the best place for people to follow you, to know what you're up to?
Okay. So I'm on Instagram, BL11Hannah. I'm not as active on Twitter. I should be, but I'm not. I have my personal Facebook page, but I have like a public page that we all pretty much had. And I do a lot of lives on there. My Facebook page is BL11 Hannah Curlee. And also, if you want to visit my Facebook group, it's called The Way, WEIGH Down, DOWN. So any of those places you can find me.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Hannah, as always, it's so fun being able to talk with you.
I love you, friend.
It's just so nice to be able to do. I mean, it's just like riding a bike. I feel like if we're in the same room doing the same things we did before on the ranch.
Absolutely.
So today I'm talking to you. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking to Olivia at 3:30 Eastern time. Same thing. I'm going to check in with
my other half.
Then what I want to do is probably in a couple of weeks, I'm going to get you and Olivia together. So the 3 of us will talk. Okay. Then if Irene's willing, I might have to get you to wrestle her out. You know, she sometimes likes to stay undercover. I want to be able to do a one-on-one with Irene.
And she's the greatest. She's the greatest.
Irene is the best. And Irene hated me for a while. She thought when we were, I was cooking stuff and I was preparing stuff on the ranch for everybody, and she thought I was like trying to poison her or like
sabotaging. She didn't know you.
Somehow, then we got to be the best of friends, but for a while she couldn't stand me. But I want to be able to do something with Irene and then get the 4 of us to chat back and forth. I just think the more you and I love what we've been able to learn, and we love being able to share this with people. And now more than ever, I think one of the greatest, this is the toughest time in the world for people. What I will tell you, I love seeing how people are opening up, sharing, being vulnerable, reaching out to others. That's what's going to get us through this right now. And in the next
100%.
few years, whatever. But I think that this is the opportunity for everybody.
Absolutely.
Create a blank slate, start from scratch, get some support.
That's right.
Create community. So,
and the thing is, if you don't reach out to a support group or you're too embarrassed, you can't be. Like, reaching out is the best thing that got us going. I also want to say this because I talk about Jay a lot. Do people really know how funny you really are?
Hannah,
when you're not business, you guys, I want everyone to know Olivia and I talk about Jay all the time. Jay, and also Jay has probably talked about this, but we're also really close to Courtney and Marcy. We're super close.
Yes.
Jay and Jen both are, and I don't know if it showed on the show because, like I said, I haven't watched everything, but they are the most funniest humans. It's why I gravitated towards Jen in the beginning because I loved her, and Jen was I thought she was a professional athlete. She was so fierce. Yeah. But Jay and her, they are the funniest duo. I had never seen a father-daughter duo like that. And Jay and I would get in trouble because we would just be laughing. Like, we used to get in trouble. They'd be like, Hannah and Jay, quiet on the set. He's just the funniest human being. So I hope people know that about you, how funny and quirky and weird and incredible you are, because that's one of my favorite things about you. Well, I feel like we bond over the laughter. For sure.
I love hearing that. And I also just want to give a shout out to Jennifer because, as you know, if it wasn't her, I would have gotten on the show. It was what I wanted to do. She was the one. She was relentless. She tried. She
was determined
and didn't make it. She did finally. And it's funny because she is a kick-ass athlete too. Because I remember, like Jillian used to call her Jersey Jen because
she's unbelievable.
And that's really what I learned from all of you women on the show. All of you women were like, holy shit,
we were rock stars.
Athletes. It's incredible. And that's the same exact thing that people don't really realize. Everyone has, to a certain degree, some people are super athletes, but everyone's athletic in a particular way. You know? So
and I will say, a lot of people know this, but when it was time to bring someone back, like I just kept dreaming. Like when Jay and Marcy went home, it was incredibly hard. It was incredibly difficult. And so those were the two hardest, before Jen and Courtney and everyone else, those were the two hardest ones for me personally. It was when Jay and Marcy went home. It was very, very difficult. And so Marcy had just went home, so bringing Jay back was huge, and I'll just never forget. I mean, he was the most grateful human being. You would have thought that I literally gave him $1 million, and really, it was me trying to talk Rulon into it. That was the hard part. But Jillian and I were on the same page, and Jay used every opportunity. He worked his tail off, and so I knew that was the right choice. I knew you would work the hardest, and you did. I mean, I knew you would. And then we just laughed, like we laughed and we did our thing like we always did.
Well, it was always a blessing that you did that. And, you know, the old thing.
Oh, you deserved it. You were the one that deserved it the most, you know?
When people talk about paying it forward, I've never forgotten that. And so I felt so fortunate to have made it to the Final Four. It was never my to be that far. And I really was not desiring to actually win. It wasn't like a crazy thing I was trying to win. But to be on the Final Four, to be the last man standing, as Jillian, I thought, against all odds, to be able to, in our season, which was fun, and I feel bad when people don't get to do it, to bust through the frigging paper of your old size, that was
incredible.
The most
incredible,
fun, amazing thing ever. So cool.
Why they took that away?
I don't know.
Was the most. Of course, I did get a little stuck on mine, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But that part was incredible. And I think also going into it, there were some big guys on our season. I mean, we had Rulon, who was a professional wrestler who knew how to manipulate his weight. We have Moses.
Yeah.
Like, that's why everyone's saying you guys don't have a shot in hell. There's no way. You have all these big guys, you know, but it's not just about the big people. It's about the heart. It's about the dedication, you know, it's about all of that. So really an amazing, and for me, interesting having to compete with your sister. It was we never even thought about that scenario. Never. We never thought that, not that we didn't think that we'd make it all the way. We knew we'd be separated, but we knew that one of us would probably go home, one of us would first. And so to not have to be separated like that, even though we were on separate teams, was really amazing for Olivia and I. So I'm very thankful for that.
It really was.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I love you, friend.
I love you so much. You are incredible.
Yes.
Everybody that gets a chance to meet you, reach out to Hannah, ask her, get involved in her groups, follow her. What was the 6th thing again? When is that?
The quick 6. And you can ask me about it. Also, for any of my people that are watching, Jay, how can they follow? I mean, how can they find you?
Oh, how can they find me? You would ask me that. So on Twitter, I'm at Lynn, it's the letter J, Lynn Jacobs. And then on Instagram, I think it's the same thing on Instagram too.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And I can always, if anybody wants to know where Jay is, I'll tag him and stuff. But just in case I have people that are following that, I want to follow you also.
Yeah, and the big thing I really would love people to do is if they found something from this, share with other people, because this
absolutely 100%.
We're all going to be doing is sharing more of these. I'm so excited that you guys are going to be doing a podcast. We need some more sharing that, because now more than ever, people are looking to get all the support they can, not only just in training at home, but the mental is what we're committed with, and that's what's really going to be a big difference. So
it's huge.
So thank
you, Jay.
Okay, until we meet again.
You got it, friend.
Okay, bye-bye.
Unmute. All right.
Did you stop it?
Yes.
Perfect.